Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
And I'm Jenny Oliva Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you'll hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise.
Do you feel responsible for other people's happiness? Do you feel like you have to give an answer to react to a situation quickly? Are you behaving in ways that you know are not true to you, but you do it anyway to lessen anxiety either for yourself or for others around you? Do you feel pressure to keep the peace? What is up, my friends? Welcome back and welcome to episode 14.
Yeah, what's up, guys? What's going on? Today we're going to talk about codependency.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. People might be very familiar with that term. Others maybe never heard it before.
Or you might be like me, who you've heard it before, but you in your mind had it playing some other definition and not one that, I don't know, explains you exactly. Maybe you're that person too, because this definitely, as I shared with Amanda, as we were doing research and building upon this show, kind of gave me a 1-2, like punch in the face, like knock me on my ass. So maybe you're that person too. I don't know.
First, we just want to say thank you, as always.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to our show.
Yes. Speaking of, okay, I'm taking a stab at this.
Go for it, Jenny.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead right now and tell you guys I'm not fluent in Spanish, okay?
Well, let me explain why she's doing this first. So I got an email the other day from like podstatus.com. Somebody reached out and gave us some statistics on our show. And apparently we're number 30 in relationships in Argentina.
Yes. This was the coolest thing ever.
And they were number 200-something in society and culture in Argentina. That were like in the 170s in Canada for relationships. And Denmark. So it's doing really well, especially in Argentina.
In Argentina.
We'd like to welcome you, our Argentinian friends.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
So check it out. Muchísimas gracias a nuestros amigos de Argentina. Descubrimos que soy más los que nos escuchan que en cualquier otro lugar del planeta. Los amamos y apreciamos muchos a todos y esto acaba de hacer nuestro año completo. Te amamos, Argentina, y nos encanta tenerte en esta viaje con nosotros. Yes. Okay. I probably really effed that all up. So what it says is it's a huge thank you to our friends in Argentina. We found out that there are more of you listening to us than anywhere else on the planet. We love and appreciate you all so much. And this just made our whole year. We love you, Argentina, and love having you on this journey with us. I'm sure that was all effed up. So, hey, listen, but we love you guys. We love you. What's up?
Yeah. That was awesome, Jenny. I love that. I think I could listen to you speak Spanish all day long. You have such a beautiful voice.
You know that I spoke Spanish before I did English? Did I tell you that? My father's fluent.
Your father.
My grandmother, my aunts and uncles, everybody was fluent maybe on the bucket list to be like back to conversational Spanish.
But that's super cool, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us all over the world, wherever you are. I have this idea in my head that we're talking mainly to Americans, but we're not. And that's so cool.
It is the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, in fact, Americans, y'all are slacking. Thanks, friends. No,
yes, step it up.
Come on. Argentina's got you guys like, come on. Yeah, when we heard that, it was so cool to hear. We love you guys. And again, we hope to keep connecting with you and get to know more about all of you in Argentina.
And more importantly, this is a worldwide. We talk a lot about stuff going on the planet, right?
Yes.
The stuff that we talk
about.
Human
condition.
The human condition, emotion doesn't apply to just Americans.
No.
Like we're all going through the same stuff right now because the energy is on the planet. It's not just American energy. That is different, I guess, in different countries based on your society and the things that you're going.
Culture. I'm sure there are different things culturally, but
100%. But
clearly you guys,
underneath it all, it's that basic universal connection of emotion that we all feel.
Yeah, and it turns out, Argentina, you're just as effed up as we are.
That kind of makes me
Which is why we love you. Yeah, right. And I don't even mean us in the USA. I mean Amanda and myself.
Yes, exactly. And if you're listening to us, you're probably, going through the same
That's
similar
my guess.
stuff. But like Jeannie and I were talking about before the show, we have to be in pain and we have to be feeling this stuff in order to heal it, right? I would not have gone to this depths of healing if I was not alcoholic and had to do it to save my life.
Exactly.
And we know that we're all here now to like break these chains and to heal this generational dysfunction. And I probably would not be willing to do this if I wasn't in pain. So I'm a big proponent of pain. I'm a big proponent of suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that it's, not to stay in it.
It's great, Amanda. It's so awesome. They're
Like,
like,
you all want to be my best friend right now?
if this is the first time you're listening to the show, please listen to some other shows first. We're not trying to torture you. But
Not at all. Not at all. I don't think you're meant to stay there. I
No.
think that it serves a purpose. It needs to be looked at. I think we spend so much time running from it. So
Yes.
I'm an advocate of going into it and then coming out of it.
Right.
Person.
And you're 100% correct with that. And I think that we're either going to do two things. We either run from it or we use it as the gasoline to run towards a better version of ourselves. And it just feels like that's been the theme of the entire last year, at least for myself anyway. And this particular subject, it kind of messed me all up.
So
in a good way.
So, sorry about that. This was your idea.
It was my idea. Oh, I did it. Of course I did. Yeah, because I found out that I don't know how to listen to my own needs. So clearly my higher self was like, hey, hi, it's me. Me, haven't listened to it in a long time. Let's look at this show. Because turns out it was huge for us to start digging into.
I'm going through a book right now with my sponsor in recovery, and it's called Codependent No More.
Okay. So that's like the Bible of codependency. I've been listening to different things for about a week. And it was her name?
Melody Beattie.
Yes. So, it was kind of mind-blowing because everyone from all different aspects, everybody mentioned her name and this book. So please tell us.
Yes, she's like
Tell us.
the mother of this. So I'm going through it with my sponsor right now, and it was pretty mind-blowing, especially when, we'll get to it, but like all the bullet points that identify a codependent person under specific categories. Codependency shows up as caretaking, as low self-worth, as repression of our emotion, as obsession, as controlling, denial.
As controlling.
Yes, that we control our surroundings to try and change other people's behaviors so that I am affected differently. We're going to get into all this. Let me just tell you the definition first.
Yeah, start with that.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to tell you how it shows up in our lives. Maybe it's how it shows up in your lives. And then we're also going to leave you with some steps that you can take to move out of it. So the definition in Melody Beattie's book, Codependent No More, it's actually not her definition. She takes it from an author named Robert Stubby, and from his book, it's called Codependency, an Emerging Issue. His definition is an emotional, psychological, and behavioral condition that develops as a result of an individual's prolonged exposure to and practice of a set of oppressive rules. Rules which prevent the open expression of feeling, as well as direct discussion of personal and interpersonal problems. If you're a victim of sexual abuse, physical abuse, any kind of abuse, emotional abuse, which we don't really talk a lot about emotional. I mean, this is like kind of a new thing. And neglect, abandonment.
That and abandonment. I don't know if you guys are anything like me in the sense that I always had this in when I hear the word codependent, in my mind, that is like, I would think of like high school relationship. Like, I had my friend who was maybe with somebody who she couldn't break it off with, and she couldn't go to lunch by herself because she was so codependent on her boyfriend. In my mind, it was like codependent meant to me you couldn't be alone, or that you couldn't do things without depending on someone else in order to do them. That's always been my concept of what codependence is. And no.
It's really not. That's really not. And I think a lot of us think it's the opposite of independence.
Yes.
But it's not the opposite of independence, because you could still feel like you're independent in some of your choices and in your thinking, and you can live alone, you can be alone, you're fine to be independent, but you can still be codependent. So independence and codependence can exist at the same time.
Yeah, they are the whole idea, the part that we can be dependent upon isn't a matter of having to, like you were started mentioning, making the environment and everybody around us okay, even at like at a very young age, even in infancy, that inside of us, we internally can sense, probably, we're living beings. I'm sure a lot of animals can do this too. So if you're a year old even, or whatever, 18 months, there's a part of you out of survival that knows if one of your parents is not stable.
Oh,
There's a part of us that sense it out of survival. So if you had an alcoholic mom, like you said, or an addict parent, whatever.
I don't know if I said that, but children of alcoholics.
Yes, or even just mentally not well. If they're bipolar and untreated, whatever the situation.
Not consistent, right? Like if you're a baby and you're getting fed every 3 hours, but then all of a sudden you're hungry for an extra hour, somewhere in there.
Well, there's just something innate in us that knows that the human being that's in charge of keeping you alive is not running on all cylinders.
Yeah.
There's a part that starts to sense that. And if you're going through that for a long period of time, starting from infancy, even though consciously you may not even remember, you start developing these characteristics, almost like you have to hold the person up because they're holding the roof up that you're surviving under.
There's a term, it's called parentified or parentification.
See, this tells me I need to.
A lot of people who suffer with codependency were raised in a situation where they had to take care of their parents' emotional and probably physical needs as well.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot with alcoholic or mentally ill parents. What it comes down to is you were raised in a stressful environment where there was an uncertainty of living. Your expectations were never satisfied.
You didn't know if you were going to survive.
Meal was coming.
Correct. So your basic instincts of survival, which causes us, and I had heard a bunch of this, and they were saying that much like addiction, which also really blew my mind, that it progresses and gets worse throughout your life, which I have an understanding of that from being somebody who's recovering alcoholic and knowing alcoholism and how it progresses. But to hear that this particular set of behaviors and characteristics actually does the same thing, tossed me on my head.
Yeah, just to be clear, this is not a mental illness. This is not something that you're born with. This is not even something like a personality disorder, which is something that develops because of an unstable home environment or trauma or whatever. It's not that. And so it's easily curable.
Treated. Yes.
Yeah. It's very hopeful. You do not have
Extremely
to live like this anymore. But I think, knowledge is power. And I think being aware and being honest with yourself about the behaviors and why you're doing them, right? We tell ourselves all these stories. To justify.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but they need me. Oh, but if not for me, then who's going to do it?
Exactly. But coming to find out that because of the environment maybe not being consistent or your innate survival skills being there, the need for safety squashes everything else regarding personal needs.
Yes.
And it makes having healthy relationships very difficult if you're someone who's done this because, again, and we've used this word before, but that self-abandon concept, you don't even know how to know what your needs are. We don't even clock in. And I'm saying we, because I've come to realize I already had a pretty good idea. But after trying to research this show, I am 150% clear now that I absolutely suffer from codependency. I mean, to the point I was like, I'm scheduling a therapy appointment, after all of this, because it was very eye-opening for me to hear a lot of what I was hearing and look back. I feel like I'm probably getting better, but looking back and knowing that a lot of these relationships are times in my life where I have constantly been in situations where I'm doing more for others than they are doing for me. What is this? And it does come down to this self-worth thing because it's I'm not as good as, or I'm not worth the time, or what I'm going through is not important enough that these people who I tend to feel like I'm always running to do whatever to make sure they're okay, no one does the same for me. That's all almost we're setting that up in a way. We're attracting people in our life
100%
that are not even capable of doing it.
No. So seeking emotionally unavailable people.
Yes.
That's definitely a characteristic of this. Again, going back to control and trying to change other people's behaviors so that I am affected differently. That also relates to if I can act a certain way, maybe you'll see me. Maybe you'll hear me. Maybe you'll acknowledge my needs or my existence, and that will make me feel safe, and that will make me feel loved, and that will make me feel a shred of self-worth,
Right.
Which we didn't have. So we're hustling. We're constantly, Brene Brown says, hustle for your worthiness. That's like one of her lines.
Hustle for your worthiness.
Hustling for your worthiness. And codependency definitely falls under that characteristic of hustling.
Holy crap, it
trying
does.
to figure out, like, what can I say? What can I do? How can I be there? And try to be like, play like the chessboard, right? Or be the puppet master.
Right.
And then if I do that, then they'll finally see me. And they'll love me.
And they'll love me. So the part that I think has been really, really disorienting for me is realizing that it's not even so much that we look for those other people to fill our needs. It's almost like because we're so disconnected from ourselves, from having to try to like, oh gosh, like you're saying, like keep everything cohesive and okay, that we're almost looking to people to tell us what we need in a way. Almost like because we don't even know, somebody who's suffering from codependency like this, we don't even know how to tap into what our needs are.
No, there just
We've
hasn't been
never
time.
done it.
There hasn't been time for you because you're constantly thinking about other people and how to meet their needs so that you'll get their approval,
So, yes.
so that you get their love. And ultimately, this whole people pleasing, right? That's kind of what we're talking about. A sense of
So
responsibility for somebody else's happiness and somebody else's safety, being a fixer, trying to create that sense of stability that you're talking about in order to lessen your anxiety and to lessen other people's anxiety or to keep the peace. This is the kicker. This is the thing that I love about codependency that like blew my mind when I learned about it.
God.
We think we're doing things to help other people.
To tell ourselves.
Yes, because they need us. Like if they didn't have me.
Gosh, where would they be?
Yeah, exactly.
And it justifies our worth.
Totally. We're useful. We're valuable somehow. But ultimately, now everybody, hold on to your hats because I'm about to blow your mind.
Uh-oh.
This is not about you filling somebody else's needs. This is about you feeling needed. This is about your need to be needed.
Jeez. Yeah.
And this is very true in parents, siblings, friends who try to help an alcoholic or an addict in your life.
Yeah.
The enabling. That's what enabling is about. Enabling is about you doing something for somebody else, telling yourself that you're doing it because they need you. They might die or this or whatever. But really, you're keeping them dependent on you because it's making you feel needed.
Ugh.
So, I'm sorry, everybody who's out there listening to that. It probably sounds harsh, and it probably hurts some feelings, and it may have touched a sore spot.
But it's true.
That's the truth.
And the thing is, it's not because you're a bad person.
No.
At all. And that's the thing. And it's not.
No, you're a great person. You still want to help them. It's not that you don't want to help them at all, right? It's not all about you. But there's a large part of that is about you.
Yeah.
You have, we're some of the biggest heart people, and I suffer from this as well.
Yeah.
You have these huge hearts.
Yes. And I felt like I was walking through, a foggy room, really, and hearing some of this because I consider myself to be somebody who's very empathetic. I genuinely believe that I am. I really do. I genuinely believe that I'm somebody who loves people. I feel that is definitely there. I love the fact that you could stick me in a room with people who speak some other language. And for the most part, by the time I'm done, I'll find some way to connect with them, which is why sales has always been something that I enjoyed. It was natural to me. However, in looking at the parts of my life up to this point that have seemingly felt very painful, or I have felt in this way that why is it that if I'm sick, why am I not allowed to be sick? Why am I always jumping to go help everybody else? Meanwhile, I'm laying in bed and nobody gives a shit. Or why is it that somebody else's needs are more important than what's going on with me? Even though in my mind, I've told myself before, we teach people how to treat us. I tell my kids this all the time. We teach people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves, all these things. I'm like, oh yeah, it's so insightful. Meanwhile, I'm looking back at my history and at times when I have felt how I have felt and having to really differentiate and ask myself, which really was alarming and uncomfortable, to be like, how much of this has been out of you needing to survive? I've known
as you're talking, I'm thinking about children who we talked about were parentified. That was how you felt needed. That was how you got your self-worth, was by taking care of your parents.
Yeah.
either emotionally or physically, mentally, whatever, in any way.
Right.
So you're going to continue just doing that. That's the way that
To
you're
everyone
going to
around you.
seek that
Yes.
self-worth. And again, I want to say, when I was in therapy, when I was moving, and my mom was not happy that we were moving to Colorado, and I said to my therapist, you know, I just wanted her to come with us. I just wanted her to be happy. And she said, really? Or is this about you not wanting to feel guilty? And I was like, wow. Yeah, like that was a codependent behavior to try and change the way she feels
Right. So that
to be okay with this. So, but I was a little annoyed at that because
Did it strike a
left
chord with you?
Totally, because I was like, wait a minute, but that does not mean that I don't care about her. That does
Right.
not discount. What I'm trying to say is that, like, you still love these people. You are an empathetic person, Jamie.
Yeah.
So am I. We feel like a lot for people.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to help people. Shit, I went to school to be social worker. Right?
Exactly.
Like, what do they ask you the first day in social work school? What do you want to do? We all raise our hand. I want to help people. Like, that's just the thing. So
and
that
you
is
do
still
gain
in
a
me.
sense of like feeling alive by helping. I love to help
Connection.
people. It's connection.
Yeah. So
yes.
one does not cancel out the other, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that's good to hear because I literally was like, "Oh, am I like a closet piece of shit?" Yeah, no. Well, hey, am I actually just self-serving all the time? And I don't believe that that's the case, but it's
not the case.
certainly causes me to really clearly have this vision of at times, whether it was in friendships, relationships, whatever it was, of having this sense of like, gosh, my feelings are so hurt because I do so much for them and I love them so much. Why don't I get the same thing from them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember cleaning up my friend's like vomit in high school. I may have told this story already, but like, and we were all drinking. We were drunk. We were like 16. Our friend's mother
good old
got us a
days.
hotel room, and we had a
Isn't that insane?
like 16, and we had a bathtub full of beer. And we just got drunk
prom or
in the
something?
hotel. Her mom was in another room. I think some
Okay.
of the moms were staying in another room. No, it was her 16th birthday. And we got drunk and somebody threw up. And I literally was on my hands and knees cleaning it up. But I remember saying, you would never do this for me. None of you would ever do this for me. That is sheer codependency, like what you're talking about.
Yes.
Like, I wanted to prove so badly to those people that I would do that for you
Yep.
because I want them so badly to want to do that for me. Right? It's like this constant trying to get this
You want to
love
get
and
because
somebody
again,
to take
we're
care of me.
searching.
And not that I wasn't taken care of. My parents were great. We had everything we needed. We didn't grow up in an abusive or an alcoholic home.
Right.
But I do believe some of my emotional needs were not met.
Right.
And I just think that, like we talked about before, that our parents did the best with what they
The
had.
tools they had.
They were working with and their own unhealed pain and just, again, generational trauma and stuff that has been passed down through the years.
Yeah.
And now it's time for us, people who listen into our soul rising.
Yes.
Our soul rising
Soul
is part of
rising.
that. Is this breaking these chains, facing this stuff, getting very honest, right?
Yeah.
The key to moving out of this is first it's awareness,
Right.
and then acceptance.
Yeah,
and being
and
able to say, yes, this is how I am.
It's not easy, you guys, because listen, and as we're talking to you guys about it, I mean, literally in real time, I am going, anybody who's maybe having this like dawn on them, I'm literally in it right now. Like Amanda has had some time. She's aware, and I'm so grateful because I will be picking her brain for many things about this.
I've just had more time in recovery. I was just exposed to it earlier.
Some of the things I'd heard too is that codependency is a subconscious program. You know, like where your parent, and the thing is, you didn't even have an addict parent. Maybe they just emotionally were not regulated. Was your mom losing her shit all the time because she was, whatever her situation, who knows what her parents went through to cause her to be that, and your father was out cheating and your mom was fucking losing her mind, you know, like all the emotional, the rage, the anger, the
There's so
even
many
breakdowns.
so many ways instability and insecurity can present.
What one of the things that blew my mind is they were saying that when we grow up in this way, though, that you actually don't become self-actualized and self-individualized. You're actually part of a paradigm. So you don't have the opportunity to even get to know who it is you are because you're in this paradigm of like, I've got to help keep everybody okay.
I got to keep everybody okay because then that means that I'll be okay.
I'll literally my immediate survival, food, shelter needs,
And that's
will,
in there. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like this childhood experiences, they are in the core of you.
everything.
Even if you're 85 years old, and you haven't done this work,
Yep.
it's going to come out. It's going to manifest in ways in your life, ultimately because it's trying to get your attention. And it wants you to heal. Like our souls, the main mission of our souls, our purpose here in this incarnation is to heal and grow and to evolve.
Yeah.
So it's going to keep presenting. And another way that it presents for me, and not so much anymore, but used to be a lot, was in the form of hypervigilance. Like I thought I was just very observant. And then I learned that really was my hypervigilance because I needed to figure out the mood of the people around me
Oh, yeah.
in order for me to know how to act.
And that's crazy. So you mean like you could walk, because I'm relating to exactly what you're saying. I could walk into a room and within probably 2 minutes have a very good idea of how the mood that everybody in that room is in.
Yes,
most
and
people.
we think that we're conscious, right? We use those words. I'm observant, I'm
observant.
conscious.
Empathetic's
I
always
can
the
feel
sign.
other people's energy.
Yes.
It might not always be that. It might be that you are being hypervigilant because you're so aware of everything that's going on around you, all the gestures, the tone of voice, the movements, the words coming out of people's mouth, because you're constantly looking to rearrange, readjust your own behavior.
To change the energy in the room.
Yeah, or to be in control of it so that it doesn't spin out of control. And that comes from being traumatized in some way.
Yep.
And then if you sense that it's going to spin out of control, then you need to take an action. Then
Do
you
something
need to
to
do
shift it.
something.
Yeah.
So that you can then keep it. So, yeah, so hypervigilance, that's a huge one. But I also think it serves me. I'm really big on this whole, like, all these negative things, so to speak, these things that we think are not serving us. And they're not if they're not used rightly. I believe that there's always a way that it can be flipped around and can serve us.
100%. It's like probably some of my greatest, strongest qualities are the fact that I can walk in a room and find a way to relate or have somebody feel safe to relate. Those are huge, huge assets to be able.
Yes.
That's part of why you and I are here.
Yes.
I mean, we're sitting here doing this show because
Yeah.
of feeling other people's feelings and caring
Yeah.
about how that's affected us and how each of us is on this journey. So you're right. I mean, they're absolutely very positive things, but at the same time, we got to really take a look at and be honest, which this is the part that's painful / eye-opening, is how we've not done that with ourselves and how we have not truly developed a sense of I even. I feel like even now, and I'm in my mid-40s, right? I feel like I'm closer. I know myself better than I ever have, but I've now come to realize I have been so far from even understanding what all my own needs are for so long, and I didn't even realize it.
So, yeah, and I think what results in that is a lot. I don't know if you've heard the word. I'm sure you have, Jenny, but I mean people out there listening. Enmeshment. That happens a lot. Families become enmeshed in this way because they feel this duty or this responsibility to get involved in other people's lives and all the decisions that they're making. Then there's no boundaries. There's a lack of boundaries. And then it causes resentment because you're trying to control this one and you're trying to control that one. And it's because, again, it all goes back to this. Well, they need to hear it. They need to hear it, you know? Like, I don't care if I'm brutally honest with you. I can't stand
How many times have we heard
brutally
that?
honest. Thank you. You know,
I don't mean
save
to
your
worry.
brutality. Really, save your brutality for somebody who needs it.
Exactly.
But we have this idea that, like, well, if we don't say it, then who else is? You know what? They don't need to hear it from you, right? What's that? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? That whole thing?
Yes.
Ask yourself
and
those 3 questions.
is that the 4 agreements? No.
No, I think it's a Buddhist thing.
That's so, yeah.
Ask yourself those 3 questions. When you feel like you need to interject and tell somebody else what they should be doing or how they can be doing it or whatever, even if you think it's coming from like this really kind-hearted place inside of you, ask
place
yourself.
of wisdom.
Yeah, is it
It's so
true?
wise.
Is it kind? And usually those 2 I could say yes. And is it necessary? Again, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now? Right? Like these are some questions that you can ask yourself that can kind of put your codependent behaviors in check. Because if you're feeling like, you know what, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's codependency. That's this like push, this like nudge of like, but I feel like I'm the one that has to do it because really something inside you is making you feel that if you could change that circumstance, then you're going to be okay. Then you're going to be safe. Then maybe whatever happened in your childhood is going to be undone and you can fix that.
That you can fix that. Well, that's the other part. I think that was a little I keep saying eye-opening, but truthfully it is. In order to recreate that same scenario that maybe we didn't have full safety in, or we weren't having our needs necessarily met at that time, we will attract people who will give us this exact result, no matter how much we give to the relationship or the situation, that we will be attracted to and attract. And this is in all kinds of ways, whether it be people to work for, bosses, people
it's not just like romantic relationships. We always think that it's a spouse or a partner. But
it's
in
not.
every way.
Yeah. And you do hear a lot of that, a codependent person, that they tend to go hand in hand with narcissists.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are codependent had a narcissistic parent.
Well, you just recreate what you were taught when you were little. So, like, that's what you spend your whole life doing, recreating, because your soul is trying to heal that part of you. So you got to recreate it to be again in enough pain at some point to say, this isn't working for me. And then that's when the healing comes in, is when you actually can change that and say, I'm going to break out of this system that I'm recreating for myself. And that speaks to the chaos part that I was talking about before. We create chaotic situations. All could be calm, right? And waters can be smooth. You know, every now and then I'll look around, I'll say to myself,
oh, God,
all my relationships are doing pretty well right now. And then maybe like a couple days later, I'll feel like pissed off at somebody for something.
You're on that.
And I'm like, and I'm like, wait a minute. And wait, it's fine. Like, why am I'm creating chaos so then I can come in and fix it.
To fix the chaos, because your value has come in the fixing portion of it, not even in the understanding what the need was, but in the action of the fixing. You have found your identity. It's something that is very eye-opening when I can take inventory and look back at how many times I felt soul crushed by someone. Like, why didn't I mean more to them? Like, why didn't my feelings matter?
How could they do that to me?
How could they do this to me?
Aren't I deserving of somebody treating me better? And when you learn that from a very young age, you believe that you're not.
You believe that you're not, Or to sit and think that I haven't even had the 100% capability. I can feel anything from anyone in a room around me, but to know that I very likely have yet to actually know all of my own needs due to this is very jarring. Because with other people around me, I could figure it out pretty quickly. Like, wow, this person's hurting because of boom. And I have people tell me all the time, they're like, you really are in the wrong field. You should have been a therapist because you're a good listener and you can feel what's happening. Yeah, all those things. Meanwhile, I can sit here and honestly say to you guys, I don't think I have known what my own needs are. And I think it is probably a huge part of why alcohol was such a dear friend to me, such a steady relationship, because it took me from myself even more so. Generally, I have metaphors. See, look at that. I'm even on a lot of metaphors. I don't even have metaphors. Oh my God. Because I don't know. There's in my mind, I've been on this kick here lately, and I feel more aware of myself than I have been probably since we moved here to Colorado, really. And in my 40s. Like Amanda was saying, I just don't think of you like that. I feel like you make decisions for yourself.
Yeah, I said that to her before the show we were talking about. And I was like, I don't really see you that way. You seem like you kind of run your own ship. Like you're good. Like you're not that, controlled by other people's behavior.
Right. And I think I'm in a much better and continuously evolving place about it. I think I hit 40 and it was like and also getting sober didn't hurt that scenario. Of really getting a handle on in the last year, this hunt for my own authenticity, you guys. It's mattered to me because we've lost a lot of people in the last year, 2 years, 3 years since 2020. We've lost so many people untimely. I want to know who I am all the way through and through, not just the version that's like here to help take care of everybody else. Having a real awakening about understanding that I don't think I've but I don't think I've done the work to even know. I didn't even know this was as big of a thing for me as it is. And like we're talking about that we recreate the chaos. I think of my siblings who I love dearly and who will be listening to this. They're going to relate so much to this because talk about chaos. Like I think my sister had made the comment a couple weeks ago, like nothing can be easy. Why do we have to make things so difficult?
To complicate everything so that somebody can come in and be the savior, because we're all trying to be the ones to save the situation, to be that fixer, because then it's going to provide us with that sense of value.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And meanwhile, we're busy abandoning ourselves and we attract the people who cannot do it. So it's like we keep that whole thing about insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different.
It's such an addiction. This is such an addiction because I do believe you must be getting some kind of dopamine or some kind of chemical hit, right? We talk about this all the time about how like we're just driven by chemicals.
Yes.
And I think that maybe that's what it comes down to. Like if I get that hit of like, oh, I'm valuable. I fixed it. Look, she took my advice and she did what I told her to do. And now she's happy and everything worked out. That means I'm okay. That means I'm smart or I'm wise.
Yes.
And then she'll come back to me. Maybe she'll come back to me and ask me for more guidance and for more direction, right? And then it feeds the ego. So it's definitely up there in the addiction world.
They go hand in hand, almost like stemming from the same branch, it feels like.
Yeah. You talk most people know the term codependency from the addiction world, from alcoholism. They say a lot of wives or husbands of alcoholics are codependent. So like we talked how codependents and narcissists attract each other, codependents and addicts attract each other because the codependent can save the alcoholic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Very pervasive.
Yeah, well, and it can be in plain sight, I think, is the part that's also been a bit baffling to me is that
so commonplace.
Yes, so commonplace, and that some of those internal things for myself that I continue to say, why do I still feel broken? What is it that I still feel broken about? Or why is it that I still feel this way? Or like I've told Amanda before, there are times where I feel like, and go figure, she has an amazing book. It's called Trust Yourself to Be All In, okay? I realize I have not trusted myself to be all in, bitches, at all. I've told Amanda, I've said it in a way that there's part of me that feels like I'm, a small part of me is not even here in the present moment all the time. Obviously, alcohol or whatever else, chaos, could have made that possible. But I'm realizing a part of me, of my authentic self, that is probably still terrified to be here because of these behaviors, because of these things I've learned, because of these codependent characteristics that I have that I honestly did not really realize that I do at all.
Yeah, I found very interesting. So under all those, the ways that it shows up, like I said.
Yeah, tell me some more about that.
The low self-worth, the repression, also dependency, being dependent on other people for your happiness. That's part of it, of course. Poor communication, weak boundaries, lack of trust, anger, and sex problems. And then underneath those were like 20 bullet points for each. And when I was reading my sponsor, we just
probably gonna
started laughing. We were like, holy cow.
Did you feel like there was a picture of you there? You're like, where's my picture? It's describing me to a T.
There were some things that definitely still stuck out. A lot of them I could see in my past self. But one of them that I thought was very interesting was equates love with pain.
Ooh.
Now, if any of you have read my book out there, dudes and dudettes,
it's what it's about.
This is what it's about. And my sponsor said, this is what you're trying to do with Jim. You're being codependent with Jim, who's my husband.
Yes.
Who he has chronic respiratory illness from being a firefighter and also a 9/11. And every time he gets sick, I fall back into this fear of loss. And then my brain tells me that to be completely open and to feel complete love and connection is going to cause me pain.
And it tells you, run for the hills.
Yes.
We don't want the pain.
So I'm trying to control his illness. I'm trying to control the outcome of what might be coming down the pike. So even just controlling life events is codependent. Trying to control things that are going on around me. Again, living in the uncertainty causes anxiety for me. So I want to know. A sponsor told me once, she goes, you're not okay with things just hanging out there. Like, you need things to be buttoned up.
It's fascinating in why we are, like, meant to be in each other's soul sisters and meant to be in each other's lives because
SOL.
SOL.
Sisters.
You said it's uncomfortable for you to not have things in order it's almost uncomfortable for me to have things in order.
Well, that was interesting too. A lot of the bullet points, they were completely contradictory. So like one would be like, yeah, having things in order, not having things in order. You know, so it's not,
As
it's
they
not just
explain.
like,
It's not cookie cutter.
no.
Your codependent characteristics could be coming out in ways you literally had no idea that that's what it was stemming from.
Exactly.
There's this hope in me. I literally, you guys, I listen to a lot of really good people on YouTube. I know now I need to read Codependent No More, which they all seem to talk about quite a bit. It's like at the basis of what so many people out there talking about codependency, they refer to her work. First off, there was a weird level of shame at first because I'm like, wait, what? Like almost similarly at the time when someone's like, I think you have a drinking problem. And you're like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Very familiar, very similar feeling. I felt like, wait a second, how could I have this going on and not know it? I had this
Because
almost a sense of
denial, like we
shame.
say, is not just a river in Egypt.
That's what I mean.
Don't even know I am lying. Denial. I have a friend who loves.
Don't
the
even
acronym.
know I am
Don't
lying.
even know I am lying to myself. Right?
Gotta love 12-step. So is it a 12-step thing?
Well, I heard in a meeting, but
Right. It did come from a meeting. But there was a part of me that really was uncomfortable in listening to this because I did not want to really admit that a massive part of a lot of the pain I think I have felt in the past, in the sense of like abandonment or neglect or people wronging me, has been at the core of it, not my own doing, not that I did it to myself, but because I've had this set of tools, like I was building a stage and it was the same set every time. But I have been at the core of it, and it's been because of suffering from some of these. Yeah.
the fourth step in recovery is looking at your resentments against people. And then the first part of it is awesome because you get to just blame. They did this to me, this person did that, And then the second part is where you start to look at yourself. And some of these things I said, well, how on earth am I responsible for this? Like, well, I did not play a part in being sexually traumatized when I was 5 years old.
That's right.
Like, what the hell is, like, no, And my sponsor said to me, your part is continuing to feel it and relive it and not do anything to heal it.
Ooh.
And that opened me up to the healing, right? Because if I'm sitting here with my heels dug in and saying, no, I didn't have a part in that. I don't have any work to do around that. But I'm going to stay in that pain. I'm going to stay in that suffering.
And you're going to justify why you need to keep drinking or keep doing when for us.
Killing myself.
Right. We have a justification. So it's basically developing a justification for why we're still abandoning ourselves.
Exactly.
That's the responsibility.
Exactly. Because then when I could take responsibility for the continuing to reliving and all that, I could say, I'm not going to abandon myself anymore. I'm going to take care of little Amanda.
Instead of just blaming this person for doing this to you at that age.
And I'm continuing to abandon myself by not acknowledging that I'm not allowing myself to heal. Does that make sense? Like,
It does make sense. It makes so much sense.
so this work is so worth doing, and it's going to be painful. But nothing good comes in life without a little bit of grit and pain
That's how we grow.
and tears. Like anything. Like we talked about this too, like working out in the gym. We talked about this like in another episode.
Your muscles literally are breaking. You're sore because of the lactic acid or whatever, because your muscles are breaking down to rebuild into something else.
Doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So this is for you, and then this is for other people as well. Because like when we opened up talking about how like you're not doing people any good by keeping them dependent on you. You are doing a disservice, especially when we do this with our kids. Especially doing everything for them, right? Oh, but I'm going to be a bad mom if I don't make their bed every day. Or I'm going to be a bad mom if I, send them to school with whatever, like not a homemade lunch or, all this stuff of like to take this caretaking of our children or keeping them dependent is meeting our needs to continue feeling like a good mom. And you're doing them a disservice because you're not teaching them how to be independent, how to think for themselves, how to make a freaking sandwich, right? Exactly. Your kids most likely are capable of doing a lot more for themselves than you
allow them to
think they can or allow them to because you like the fact that they need you. And that it's not okay. I'm like keeping my kids stifled. But I'm keeping my kids in this place to like need me. And you're not being a good, I'm not being a good mom when I do
By
that.
doing that.
And I do it too. Listen, I'm
Or-
calling myself out. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm mother of the year over here, you know, like my mom always loves to say that. I wasn't mother of the year. None of us are mother of the year.
None of us.
Okay? We all
None
make
of
a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
And I find
All the
myself
time.
doing it. I catch myself and still do it. Sometimes
Yeah.
I cannot override that need to feel like a good mom.
Right. And the other part for those of you out there, and it might be a little bit more common, right? If you're in a relationship where you're like, well, he still doesn't even take the time to like tell me that I look nice, or, you know, it doesn't matter for him to plan dates for me, or she doesn't tell me, you know, that she really appreciates how hard I worked, or I have this friend and it just sucks because you know what? I'm always, every time it's someone's birthday, I'm always doing things for people and no one does anything for me. These friendships where we're baffled by the fact that people aren't reflecting back to us what we feel we're putting in. It's so worth taking the time to look at if you are actually in these situations due to your own attracting the situations, because if we can become aware of these things that's happening to me in real time as we speak, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope for a more solid, authentic us.
Satisfying existence and,
Yes.
and peaceful, balanced relationships. You know, there are people, and I don't know if I do it too much. I probably do. But I know there are people, friends of mine, who would say, like, I'm always doing for them and they're never doing for me. So I'm going to break off this relationship because it's not balanced. It's not
Right.
fair. I give, and I don't get anything in return.
Right.
Maybe you're giving too much. Maybe that other person who's not constantly giving back is in a healthy place.
That-
Like if they're not willing to get out of bed at 2 a.m. in the morning and come to your aid, but you are, maybe that says something more about you and your codependency
That's
than about
exactly-
them and their lack of being a good friend.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That if you're out there, you're driving in your car right now, or you're wherever you are, and you're thinking, like, I know exactly what this person's talking about because I'm in this friendship right now where this person seems to be, they don't give a shit about when I'm going through things, but I'm always there to take all their freaking phone calls, whatever it is. You might want to stop, take a breath, and take recognition of the fact that you might have been ignoring what you need this whole time, and not because you're a bad person, because you are suffering from some of these characteristics of having codependency issues that you have ignored yourself. So then when we're looking, and well, there's the metaphor. There it is.
Yeah.
The same way that, like,
Bring it on.
yeah, and it's one I've used before, but it's like you have cancer and you're going to the podiatrist and you're like, hey, mister, like, help me get rid of this cancer. You're looking to the wrong source to solve the wound.
You're your own source.
You're the source.
You're the
Yes.
source.
And you're looking outside of you to continually be like, God, why am I not worthy enough? To know that when we can start realizing that we are, there's hope and there's a resolution at the other side of this, but it has everything to do with knowing that we haven't been able to know our own needs even.
Yeah, and you're not at fault for that. You're
No.
a child. You're at the mercy. You're
were
at the
trying to
mercy
survive.
of your parents.
You were totally
So
trying
you
to
did
survive.
not create this.
No.
This is not something that you should feel bad or guilty about. But you do have a responsibility now that you are aware and that you're exposed to it, and that, like Jenny said, should be extremely hopeful and exciting
So
for you.
It is.
And to
It
say,
is.
"Wow, I actually have the control to stop feeling like
I've
I'm not."
never been enough.
Yeah, like I'm not enough.
Like I've never been wanted. Like my life has not mattered enough to anyone else the way that they've mattered to me.
And the truth is, you have to
No
take
one
care
else.
of you. You have to want yourself. You have to like yourself. We talk about self-love all the time, but there's so many other things that go along with that. It's not just, you have to actually like yourself. You have to
Yeah.
want to be around yourself.
Yourself, yeah.
You have to really make best friends with yourself.
Yeah.
And take care of your own needs.
Your own needs.
That's that whole, right, put the oxygen mask on,
Yes,
blah, blah, before you help
yes.
somebody else.
Yes.
Like, it's so true. We've been saying this stuff for so long. And this is why we're here, because we don't feel defeated and we don't feel powerless. And we feel that if you're listening to us too, neither do you. And that you still have hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
you
There's
still-
always hope.
Yep. And that
There's
you know that
always
there's a
hope.
way out, that there is a way out of the suffering.
Yeah, and that some of these mystery things, and I guess that's what it is for me. There's just been these lurking things hiding in the corners that I feel like I've never been able to quite pinpoint. I feel like I've gotten through and found ways to find some healthy outlets and heal from a lot of difficult things. However, When I started learning about this, I was able to pinpoint some of those things, and they were kind of the mystery box of why I'm still all effed up, right?
What I want to read to you guys right now is,
Yeah, please.
is what is waiting for you on the other side
Oh, please. I do need to hear this.
of this. Okay, so we have something in recovery we call the promises, and we read it at the end of every
Yes,
meeting.
yes.
And it's basically what will come to you if you do the work in recovery. This is what will come to you if you do your work in codependent recovery. Recover from your codependency.
Let's hear it. Lay it on me.
It is liberating. It lets us be who we are. It lets other people be who they are. It helps us own our God-given power to think, feel, and act. It feels good. It brings peace. It enables us to love ourselves and others. It allows us to receive love, some of the good stuff we've all been looking for. It provides an optimum environment for the people around us to get and stay healthy. And recovery helps stop the unbearable pain many of us have been living with.
Wow.
Amen.
Amen, man. That is,
It's not really a prayer.
it's not a prayer, but amen sounds about right. It's incredibly hopeful.
So why don't we get on to the challenge?
Yeah, let's do it.
So what I came up with was when you feel yourself falling into codependent behavior, either of your own making, your own chaos making in order to fix it, or coming from somebody else, do not react. Sometimes we say, don't react, respond. Don't do any of it. Just sit with it. You
mean
not,
like if someone's up, oh my God, it's this guy, like they call you and you're ready to do the whole, like,
jump right into action.
Yeah, be the
I'm
savior.
going to go. I got to be there. I got to get my car. I got to get my keys. I got to go.
I'm going to come get you.
Don't do it. Just sit there. See how long you can sit in that anxiety for, because it's probably going to create some anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? And then we talk a lot about creating a new story, creating a new mantra. While you're sitting in that and it's eating you alive, it's not my job to save them. This is going to be more about me than them. I am teaching them how to take care of themselves by letting them be, by not coming to their rescue, by not being their savior. The Al-Anon program, they talk about do not engage. Do not engage. So, like, say if somebody's trying to rile you up, like somebody calling you up, did you hear what so-and-so said? And da-da-da. You know, just don't go there. Just don't engage with them. Don't try to make them feel better. Don't say whatever you think you need to say so that they can, you know, calm down. It's not your job. Like, you do not owe anyone anything. Okay. And that, I think, is the message that was going through my head a lot when I was acting with my codependent behaviors, was that I felt like I owed you and I had to act quick. I had to give you an answer.
Right. Yeah.
Yes or no?
Or to
like right now.
To prove to you that I'm taking action because
I'm responsible, or I care, or I love you, or trying to prove something.
Because I'm a great person.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm a really good person. Look how great I am. Another for detach with love. Detach with love. Remember, just because you're not running to their aid or you're not thinking of something to say to make the situation better or whatever, you are allowed to detach and still be giving them love in other ways, sometimes from afar, right? On your terms. On your terms.
Yeah.
Do not feel like you have to respond and react and go in and do this because you're feeling this pressure from yourself, really. That
It's really yours. It's more of an internal thing that's like, hey, we still need to feel our self-worth. So hurry, jump on this because that equals our self-worth or our identity. So what you're saying is break that. Those things fire off in your mind, like to stop it before it even goes.
And tell yourself that other person, what they think of me, is not creating my sense of self-worth or my identity or my self-actualization. Take that time to create it for yourself. Who do I want to be? Who do I believe I am? Who am I? I am love. I am kindness. I am compassion. Even if I'm not showing up in the way that person is trying to get me to show up for them.
What they're used to me, I've been the person that shows up for them in this situation, in this way. This is the part I've played.
Yes.
It's almost like you're
willingly.
Yeah, willingly. I've cast myself.
Yes.
I've cast myself as this character.
Yes.
That's a great point.
And speaking about willingness, you have to be willing to have the dynamic change, you know, similar to setting boundaries. It's the same deal.
People aren't going to love it. Like,
This isn't
I'm sure.
Oh, no. They're not. They're going to want you to continue behaving in this way.
And I think at the core of all that, once more, we're searching for it outside of us and other people, ultimately to reach the goal of having it for ourselves. It's different. You're not depending on people outside of you or depending on some source outside of you to provide it. If we figure out, or we can even listen, just even trust ourselves enough to go, what are my needs?
Write them down.
Yeah.
Right? It might be so liberating, like they said, and eye-opening, you know? And by you serving your own needs, you got to allow people to be mad at you. Let them be mad.
That's a great point.
Let them be mad.
I feel like we have a hard time with I have a hard time.
I have a hard time with that.
Really hard time.
I might come off sounding all like confident and do this and do that.
Like she's
but,
so
like, I don't
badass.
like that. I get like torn up for days when
If
people
somebody's
close
mad
to
at you,
me.
see, I would never think that. Just like you, I would never think that. I would think
certain
you're such a
people.
badass bitch. Like she's such a badass New York chick that she doesn't care.
Oh,
No,
I do.
She cares.
I do. I care a lot. So don't let my badass New Yorkness fool you, people. I'm
You would
right
be-
with you. I'm in the boat rowing along with you.
We all are.
Certain people in my life it really
It hurt
tears me up when I think they're mad at me.
You feel like still?
Yeah. There's a couple people, but I don't act on it anymore. That's the growth.
That's the difference.
I allow
Huge
that
growth.
fear to exist without behaving differently. I stay true to myself. I don't abandon myself anymore. That's the growth. That's
huge.
the growth.
It's huge.
So, do you have anything to add to that? Do you have any other challenge?
I mean, I feel like I myself am going to be taking this challenge because it's so necessary. But also, yeah, you guys maybe pick up some of these books. Melody Beattie, is that her name?
Yeah, Mel Beattie. I'll put it in the notes. Beattie.
Yeah,
Melody Beattie,
Codependent No More.
And she also has a daily reader. It's called The Language of Letting Go. And that's awesome. And I've had that book for years. And every couple of years, I'll pick it up. And it still blows my mind. And it's like, oh my gosh, like that's the complete opposite of what I thought my entire life, of what I'm allowed to do, how I can behave, how just the story that I've been telling myself for so many years is so wrong.
Yes. I think the other part, you guys, if you're on the fence about, and I know it's not easy, and depending on what country you're in, I know in the United States, it's not exactly the easiest to get mental health met right now. It really sucks. It's a problem.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But if you have benefits that cover it, and if you're somebody who's on the fence about jumping back into therapy, I would say do it. That's been me and this particular subject. And also because I'm wanting to be able to help my own kids and my children. And I want to be a cycle breaker and all those things.
And don't be codependent with your therapist. If you go to
I
therapy
didn't think about that.
and you give he or she or they a couple of sessions, maybe 2 or 3 sessions, and you're not feeling it, trust yourself.
To go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else.
Great point. Great point.
You deserve to have somebody who you feel comfortable with, who you trust, and who you respect their wisdom. You are allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just be gentle with yourselves, man. All of you guys, everybody out there, no matter what it is you're going through, just remember to be gentle with yourselves. We all need it. We need to be compassionate with one another. And we can't get to that point unless we're compassionate with ourselves. So, like, be easy on yourself this week, today. Give yourself some love, some props, because you're still here.
Yes, balance this work with a lot of self-love and self-care. You don't need to be, treading in the deep end of the pool every day, all day. Like,
that's exhausting.
dip a toe in, go in a little bit, come out, then go in. I interval train is what I like to look at my as interval training. If you're a runner or an exerciser or whatever, you know about interval training. You go fast and then you go a little slower. Then you go fast and you go slower.
It's so true. And also just like take some time to ask yourself what's going to bring you some joy. And if that means listening to music or if it means sitting down and writing and giving yourself 10 minutes to do so, like slow down long enough to remember or try to ask yourself, what is it that's going to like spark some joy? What are my needs? What are my needs today? Because I'm here to tell you, like, I know for sure I haven't done this enough. And I know I want to. And I'm glad you guys are here to listen to me do it. All of us together, we're doing it together. You're not alone. You're not alone. We're so glad you're here.
Yes, we're so grateful that you've chose to listen to us today and that you keep coming back to our show. We are extremely grateful. We are honored, and it is our pleasure to sit here and babble and have you listen.
I try to speak Spanish. Hey, I'm sure I botched that. I hope you guys got at least part of it.
It sounded great to me.
Right?
I wouldn't have
babbling a
known
bunch of
any
bullshit. Amal, your purple underwear smell of lilacs. Don't big with us.
All right, guys, we're going to head out. I want to give you a little bit of housekeeping. So this is episode 14. We're going to do 2 more. We're going to launch into season 2.
Yes, I can't believe it.
And some exciting news. We're going to have guests on the show.
Yes.
But Ginny and I have gotten a lot of feedback from people that you love our chemistry and you love what we got going on here. So I am hesitant to let go of that.
Yes, I get it, which is why we're going to hang on to it, though. We're just going to mayonnaise, mayo to
So
the
some
sandwich.
days we're going to have mayo. We talked, Jenny, I don't know if you listened to that episode, guys. She talked about having guests. It's like adding mayo to the sandwich. Some days we're going to go straight no mayo. And we're just going to be like, turkey and lettuce. And then maybe 2 weeks later, we'll have a guest. But we're not going to be like so hard and fast to it. We're going to just kind of see what feels right for us and try to tap into what you guys need. And tell us, too. Shoot us an email, soulrisingpodcast@gmail.com, solrisingpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you want. Do you want guests?
Yeah.
Do you like just us, right? Like, we're here to serve you. We want to know what you guys want and need from this show. So,
Because we're codependent.
because we're about to go this. Booyah.
But no, really. But we really are here. We're in it together, you guys.
Yes.
Can't do it without you. So
we
give us
rise
some feedback.
together.
Yes.
We love you.
We love you. We hope you have an
a great
amazing
day.
week.
Okay.
Love
See you
ya.
guys soon.
Bye.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
See you next time. Until then, let that soul rise.